Hello, welcome to another video, and today looking at sort of some simple exercises that you could use to improve like the range of motion, so like mobility at the ankle and the knee, but at the same time improving the stability and some of the strength things around that. Obviously this is not the only things you would do, but this is a sort of a little way to sort of work on several things at once and try to put it all together. So let's have a look at this first part, because this is really the first part and the end part, so I'm sort of starting at the end and working back. So I'm basically, all I'm doing here is just trying to improve a squat action, cheating on it by using some little heel plates to just get the right position in for my body, to especially at this bottom point. So I'm really focusing on what's happening around the ankle here. So I'm using these little heel plates to get like a greater angle at the ankle, but also to try and get better angle at the knee. Alright, so by cheating on this bottom part, it allows my body to position really well here, so I can get really good depth and range of motion, so parts of around my quadriceps and also my glutes and hamstrings, getting to experience working at stabilizing the hip joint and the knee joint in a range that it may not be able to do if I didn't cheat on it a little bit around the ankle. Right, so it's sort of like where I was saying it's like almost beginning at the end, because I might need to do several things before that to try and assist me in continuing to move like in this way. So if you just, I'll play a couple more so you can get a feel for how I want to move. So see how my knee really has to come quite far way forward, but my heels are staying permanently planted on the little blocks that I have behind me, and my hip, and trying to avoid that little butt wink at the bottom, so I don't want to tuck under if I go too low. So as long as I can keep a natural curve in my back, which I'm just able to there, I can stabilize the hip joint really well. Alright, so let's have a look at the second part of this, where I sort of pull it apart and the things that I might use to help that. Okay, so the second part of this is to try and use some sort of ankle mobility drill. So I'm using a band here, and just tied around my ankle there, and really trying to create the resistance of trying to pull the subtalar joint back into position so I can flex my knee forward as if I were in the position that I was looking for in the squat just a second ago. Alright, so then this is like not just a stretch, I really want to try and move it. I want to try and replicate the timing that I was using in that squat a second ago, and this is how eventually I might be able to get rid of those little heel plates that I was using. So I'm basically trying to assist my ankle moving in the direction I want it to, and my hands are sort of guiding my knee to go over my second toe so that it doesn't collapse inwards, because that's often what people will do on this. They'll get the flexion they're looking for, but they've lost the alignment that they needed to do so. Alright, so when it's forced to work in the right alignment, it's usually a little bit stiffer and harder to do. Alright, so this is one of the drills I might use to improve just specifically the ankle mobility in preparation for that squat. So let's have a look at the next one. Okay, so this is the second part where I'm looking at knee mobility, and this is where I did a video specifically just on this one exercise already a few weeks ago. So, but basically I got the band around to try and maintain my stability and my control of my upper body, but really what I'm looking to do is trying to get good flexion through that knee there. So with the ball behind me, it's sort of forcing my rectus femoris into, so opening up the hip here and the knee at the same time. So again, it should in theory help me when I'm trying to get into that squat, so that I can be able to flex it fully so that it doesn't have any limitation around it. Alright, so by itself it's useless, but the squat may be lacking the mobility to be able to do it right. So you sort of, the two of them need each other, and the ankle might be the one that's ruining them all. So that's hence why I use the ankle one first. Alright, so now the last remaining part of this is to look at the feet. So let's look at a way that I get around that. Okay, so now we've got like a squat where I'm standing on these little rounded blocks And this is where I might often see people like moving around in their feet too much. So if they do that, this eliminates that as a concern. Now, the only bad part of this is the ankle may not have that range of motion, which is why you may need to do the other one a bit longer. But if I'm really looking for stability, you can see how my right foot struggles a bit more with this than my left. So my right foot's just not, and my right hip, to be honest, not quite as stable as my left. So I'm really sort of snaking my way around a bit on this. So I know I need to, I just adjusted my foot. So now my knee and my hip are going to have work harder because I've taken away the compensation from it. And you'll see how my foot's attempting to try and move itself out into external rotation again. So this is where, you've got to work carefully and slowly, and maybe it could be too aggressive at times, so you might need to work a bit longer in the other ones, but it's a clever way to just introduce the foot stability component within the squatting action itself. So where the other things that we've looked at so far, we're trying to assist you. This time we're looking at trying to challenge you. All right, now if I want to take that a step further, I can introduce like a foot stability where I've got the narrowed stance and I'm going to just be walking. And I've done videos on this before, but it's so simple, but yet it's so effective. So basically it's just walking on a balance beam, and you can get to see any instability problems at the feet and the hip really exposed once you do this. So the foot having, you see me trying to position my toes and my feet correctly so that it aligns itself exactly the way it's meant to. My core's working pretty hard, and a lot of things, really good things are happening here that'll assist you in getting better better control at the foot, which then allows for better mobility at the ankle. All right, so I'll do some walking forwards, and then I'll do some walking backwards. Backwards is always much harder. The proprioceptive system just works much greater on this backward walking, and the chance of mistakes is a lot greater. So I can just do simple walking of the forward and back, and then eventually try to load it up and make the muscles work that little bit greater by just introducing like a range of motion where I'll actually sink down into it. So it's almost like a partial deadlift or single leg squat. So you'll see me on this go. We're starting on my left, and this is where you'll start to see problems at the knee. So the alignment there is quite good. You can see like I've maintained that quite strong, so there's nothing wrong there. That's all good. And then you'll see on the right one where I have a few more problems, which we saw a minute ago when I was trying to squat, and the right one starts to lose a bit of control, and you'll see the alignment sort of falters as I go down. You see that alignment nowhere near as good as the left leg. All right. So now all the instability is exposed, and then I overcorrect it, and by trying to get my core out instead of correcting at the foot and the hip. All right. So a lot of frustration and mistakes are made in this process, but it's something you need to go through in order to correct the underlying problem. All right. So and this is where you could come right back to the beginning and do that squat we did at the start to try and put it all back together, and constantly working through all these various drills. All right, so these are handy exercises you can use. Obviously there's a lot of other things to do as well, but these are really good ones where the risks aren't too great. If you're making mistakes with these things, you can there's no consequence to pay for it, like in terms of pain or doing extra damage. It's just extremely frustrating. And then it allows you to move into the more aggressive type of training that does make a big difference, but also comes with greater risks. All right, so these are really handy drills to use before attempting the more aggressive type of training. All right. Anyway, I hope it gives you a few ideas of your training, and we'll see you on the next video.